All right, let's welcome in Tom Murphy into the program this morning. Tom, I'll ask you that food question in the end, but I do want to start with some football stuff. Ryan Mallett's trying out for the Spring League, man, and he's down there. He's got his first game, it looks like, this Saturday at 2 o'clock on Fox. He's been coaching quarterbacks and doing some other stuff at Mountain Home High School. Tom, and I know you wrote a piece on this. What do you think about Ryan trying to get back into it? We know he's got a cannon. What do you think about his chances of performing this Spring League?
Well, if he's got some receivers around him, he gets some protection. Yeah. I thought it was funny that the one thing he expressed a little concern about, I think he's 34. So I think most of the guys around him are going to be 10 years younger or so. So, he called them young pups, I think, or young bulls are going to be running around him. And I wish him the best. I asked him, he said something about how throwing to the high schoolers over at Mountain Home, he's learned to have a little touch on his passes, throwing with more touch. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, that's one of the knocks on you, right? And he goes, I got a lot of knocks on me, but it's only the people who don't know a lot about football. So Ryan is feisty as ever.
Yeah, he was reading yours and then listening to him on the Pig Trail Nation. He said he's never lacked confidence, and you definitely need that as a quarterback, Tom. And I'm curious, is it like it sounded like it was one of those things? His agent called him, "Hey, are you interested in this?" He slept on a few days in that. How much fire is left in Ryan Mallett to try and make something at the quarterback position at maybe the next level, you think?
I got the sense that there's quite a bit of fire, and he said a line that I want to go out and prove something only to me. Well, I think really he wants to prove it to other people too, that he could still play. And he sat there in New England for 3 years, I believe, and got minimal time. And it wasn't one of those years where Brady got hurt and like Matt Castle gets in there and basically has a full season and really performs well. He never got that chance with the Patriots. And then his shots with the Texans and the Ravens, they went okay. They didn't go great. That time he was walking off the field, and I cannot remember the circumstances, wasn't a good deal for him. So I think he's such a fiery competitor. I believe as the quarterback here in 2009 and 10, I think he elevated his teammates. I just think they were he had just so cool and ice water in his veins. I mean, to me, that touchdown pass with 6 seconds left on the clock before halftime, when Steve Berline says on the broadcast, "I'm sure the Razorbacks will take a knee right here," and they throw the touchdown to Kobe Hamilton, was just one of the cool, right-in-your-face plays that they made during that time, and it's kind of Petrino trademark thing.
Did you get any sense from Ryan about this spring football league? It's Texas based. They got a TV arrangement of some sort. I'm not sure what the revenue parameters are with Fox and Fox Sports 1. What's the viability of this league itself? How long can the league last?
Well, we didn't talk about that. And they don't get paid. They go down there and they get their lodging and they get meals. And it's really a limited schedule, I think 6 games. Mm-hmm. And they all play it. And I don't know if it's going to change after we get completely through this pandemic. But they just play all their games right there in Houston. And then the other pot of teams play all their games in Indianapolis. And then the 2 champions of the 2 sides will play each other for their championship. So they don't have city designations. I think Ryan referred to his team as the Houston Generals. Well, they really don't have Houston. They're just the Generals. And then guys like Hal Mummy are coaching in the league and stuff like that. So I don't know about the viability. You look at their website and they try to, pump themselves up as a developmental league for the NFL. And they have had 100+ players from their league that have been in the NFL or gone in the other direction, like Johnny Manziel. So I don't know. We'll see. I do think that there's maybe a sense for needing a developmental league, but if there's enough money to float it is always the key question.
All right, so that'll give Razorback fans something to maybe sink their teeth into early in the day on Saturday. That night and the night before on Friday, Arkansas has a baseball series with Georgia coming up this weekend, Tom. One of two remaining SEC home weekends. Georgia's been one of them teams that can sneak up on you. You don't think about them as a power. They're around 40th in the RPI, but they sure gave Vanderbilt some troubles about 3 weeks ago.
They really did, and they were a preseason top 25 team and very well regarded. I mean, they've got hitters, they've got some pitchers. They're just not as well known as some of the other key teams in the country, in the conference, like Arkansas, Vandy, and Florida. But yeah, I mean, they went into Vandy when Vandy looked almost invincible and won 2 out of 3 from them, and so they are capable. But yet they turned around and lost some series. They lost the series to, I think it was A&M last week, or Auburn. I think they lost the series to Auburn last week. And Auburn's salty. Auburn came in here and gave Arkansas everything it could handle for 3 consecutive games, 3 tight games. So it's just week-to-week performance, man. And I think from the Razorback standpoint, if you get a good 6 or 7 inning start out of Patrick Wicklander like he's been giving, that'll give you a chance to win game 1. Paulette seems to be pitching better. There's a chance Jackson Wiggins gets in the rotation. They just need to get 4 or 5 innings from 2 people other than Patrick Wicklander. And if you can do that, try to limit how much you have to use Kevin Kopps. I mean, that Friday combination of Wicklander and Kopps looks really, really strong. And then his ability to bounce back and pitch in another game on the weekend is a huge advantage for the Razorbacks. So just another series win. I think it's 14 in a row they're sitting on right now, dating back to the A&M series in 2019. They're playing good ball, and I think they can get a few other guys hitting. They're going to head into the postseason with a pretty good head of steam.
Tom, one of the questions that Tommy asked Cordy Deifel when we had her on this morning is the possibility of having a super regional while a regional is going on for baseball. So super regional for softball and a regional for baseball. I don't know how long it's been since that occurred. I mean, when you look at those 2 programs, Dave was commenting on it. How awesome is it to see what the softball program is doing, and especially since they only won 1 SEC game about 5 or 6 seasons ago in Courtney's first run?
It is truly amazing, and they have 2 players, Braxton Burnside and Mary Half, that are in the finalists for Player of the Year by some entity. 10 players are left on that, so they got 2 of them. It's been a phenomenal year. We felt like they would be good, and when you talk to her, at this time last year, soon after the season was canceled, we did Zooms with coaches in pretty much all the sports on campus, and you could get the sense from talking to her and Burnside and some other players, Danielle Gibson and others, the excitement that they were going to have about the season, because they felt like they were on to something really good last year. I did not realize you have to be super good to hang with the Floridas and Alabamas and the LSUs in this league, and Tennessees and so on. And they did that this year. And Florida's got 3 games left. They win them all, they'll tie for the conference lead. But Arkansas sitting there right now with a 3-game lead, and I could not have imagined that. The way they put it together, Mary Haff's pitching, a lot of home runs, the softball equivalent of the baseball Razorbacks has been amazing. And I do believe we're going to end up seeing a regional and a super regional here at the same time.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive that both the baseball program and the softball program have just been belting it when it comes to home runs. And you were talking about pitching within the baseball program earlier, Tom. We'll close you down with this. I think it's a little overblown because I want to say their pitching overall is just outside the top 10 in strikeouts, if I remember seeing that correctly. Outside of that third guy, do you think that we've been too critical of Razorback pitching? Because that is a position of need. But when you look at Kopps, when you look at Wick starting to short up, you were talking about, I think, Paulette earlier. Is it just really the third guy that's kind of the missing piece for that pitching staff?
I don't think we've been too critical. I mean, if they have national championship aspirations,
Mm-hmm.
you got to get through tough teams on that stage in Omaha. And if your starting pitching's not giving you 4 or 5, then someone besides Cops has got to eat up innings. And sometimes a game 3, like if you get into a game 3 of, say, the Oregon State series, you got to have somebody that gives you 2 or 3 shutdown innings or hold them down to a run or something, so your offense can do the work. And I don't know. There's guys like Zebulon Vermillion who have had, he had back-to-back 8-inning starts against Louisiana Tech and Alabama, and you thought, wow, this dude's going to be the ace of the staff. Well, then he ran into a little bit of arm soreness, and he's come back the last couple of weeks and has not been as sharp. But if he can develop, then you've got a great option as a closer to go with Cops,
Mm-hmm.
and he could be a long closer as well, or he could be a guy who gives you a spot start and then can still be in the bullpen. So if he and, say, Caleb Bolden continue to develop, then you've got guys who can give you longer innings to go with the shorter specialists like Monk and Morris and some of the other guys. But, yeah, I mean, if guys like Elijah Trest and Ramage and who knows, maybe Connor Nolan, if he can just continue to work on the side, perhaps he can get into a games and just control his off-speed pitches better than he did in the LSU game.
Yeah, old Johnny Holstaff's career numbers aren't real good usually. So,
right, yeah, and then you would like what you could get at the front end of a Wicklander, say, if you're in the College World Series, and then you'd like 4, maybe 5 innings out of Paulette. You gotta fill in those other innings with some quality arms.
Yep, gotta find that third guy.
Tom, we'll recap the Georgia series on Monday. Appreciate it as always, bud.
Everybody have a great weekend.